When it comes to fighting games, I've grown to really appreciate them as I've gotten older. Sure, I may be god awful when it comes to any type of competitive fighting, but I really do enjoy how mechanically deep they can be. Would I ever be able to pull off insane combos? No, absolutely not. Will I go through every fight in the story mode of a Sparking Zero, Budokai, or old Street Fighter or Tekken? You're goddamn right I would. While my first fighting games ever were Mortal Kombat, when I tried returning to them for this video, I just couldn't bear to show you guys how bad I really am at them. Instead, I went and did the impossible. You see, for the last 25 years of my life, I have been searching for a PlayStation 1 game that literally took me all but just a very specific Google search to finally find, just to have the memories surrounding it come flooding back. The game, as you can no doubt tell, is a fighting game for the PS1, with its stories portrayed as an anime. Yep, it's going to be one of those kinds of videos. While this seems out of left field from what I usually cover, I really wanted to cover at least one fighting game last year, but other games took precedent as there are so many fighting games from my childhood, I got overwhelmed with exactly what I wanted to cover. Then, somehow, while I was scrolling some random forum, the memory hit me like an alcoholic stepfather. I had remembered it was a green game case. The other thing I remembered was when you played as some robot dude or whatever and would block, he would say, I spent a good couple hours trying to coerce Google to give me the answer I was looking for, and for some reason I had this image in my head that the person on the cover was like Zarbon or something. Whatever, I figured out the game. It was EvilZone, the anime fighting game that I played probably a total of 3 times when I was like 5 years old. Welcome back to Nostalgia Dive, and for today, I want to take you through the anime-inspired fighting game for the PS1 known as EvilZone. EvilZone was developed by UK's, a company out of Osaka, Japan, primarily known for its development of the many WWF/WWE video games. Starting to see a pattern? Well, other than that, I can't really tell you much of the game's development, as no one actually cared, it seems, to cover the game as far as interviews or any actual developmental commentary. I would say, based on mine as well as others' opinions of the internet, UK's were inspired by 70s, 80s anime and wanted to develop a game surrounding that. The company, however, did not animate the anime-based cutscenes. That work went to AIC, or Anime International Company. If anything, you would know them for, it would probably be Ah My Goddess, Bubblegum Crisis, Armitage III, which is what I know them from, and maybe the Persona 4 OVA. Of course, they have worked on other things in the 40-something years that they have been around, but this game is already so obscure, I doubt any of you would know anything else that they would have worked on. Unfortunately, outside of this, I can't really bring any more development focus to EvilZone itself, but I can sure as heck talk about the gameplay and mechanics. EvilZone is a 3D 360-degree fighting game where you can select from 10 different characters to fight with. I will list them here. I do apologize in advance if I do not pronounce their names correctly. You have Setsuna Saizuki, Lindwell Rainrix, Errol Plausa, Gali Vanish Gregman, Kaya Tempoin, Midori Himeno, Dan Zyver, Alti Al Lazel, Kekurine, and the antagonist of the game, Ihidelka. Much like other fighting games, each character has their own movesets with a unique ultimate ability all their own. These ults require you to gain power stocks, which in turn allow you to do said move. To acquire these, you must charge up while standing still in fights. You can get a grand total of 3 of these. Obviously, as an offset, the lower your health is, the faster these charge-ups happen. Of course, you can move backwards and forwards, but you can also sidestep and dash as well. In dashing, sometimes you get to do this move that is kind of like a button mashing attack that only happens when you and your opponent dash at the same time. All of these, of course, can happen over the course of multiple locations, some with fantastic background set pieces and some more bland ones. Of course, the aim of the game here is to lower your opponent's health bar to 0. When you do so, you win. The game also comes with various modes you can fight in: story, one-player mode, versus mode, practice mode, and survival mode. In survival mode, you just fight for as long as you can with whichever character you choose. Versus mode pits you against a buddy, of course, of your choosing. One-player mode is your versus mode, but against a CPU. Practice allows you to either watch in-game video tutorials about how certain mechanics work, as well as a little practice arena to actually test your abilities. Story, of course, is the story of EvilZone. The way it works is you will pick your character and get an almost episodic telling of their story through dialogue before and after each fight. It also names these fights one-word titles, almost like you would see in an old anime. These are unique for each character that you play as, and each person fights the entire roster of characters at different times throughout their stories. When you get through the entirety of story, you get a roll credit scene. This is paired alongside some brief anime cutscenes. That's it for your gameplay and mechanics outside of getting deep in the weeds about all your moves that you can do. So we will go ahead and move on to our story segment. Since the stories are basically told through short, small little conversations, I will do my best to interpret the story as we go along here. So for our story, the character I pick here for our little video playthrough goes by Kaya Tempo-in, or the Man in the Shadow. Most of the information here I'll be providing about Kaya is through his character bio, and then I will tell you a little bit about the story, as it seems each character has their own motives for going on and taking on Ihidelka. Kaya, according to the game, is an onmyoji. According to the internet, an onmyoji is translated literally as a yin and yang master, which was an official position in Japan belonging to the Bureau of Onmyo. These guys were technical officers in charge of things like divination and geomorphology based on the theory of yin and yang's 5 stages. This was all created in ancient Japan, however, has inspired plenty of other media. Ones I would like to reference here would be Gintama, or for my younger homies, Jujutsu Kaisen. This isn't really why I picked Kaya, it was mainly because he had a cool-ass suit. Anyway, Kaya plans on killing Ihidelka and claiming her power for his own. He wishes to use his powers to then resurrect his friend or possibly lover, Kimika. One thing to mention here is that one of the characters you can also play as is the one who actually drained the energy from Kimika in the first place, a dude going by the name of Lai, or Linwell Rainrix, who possesses some kind of satanic sword. When we go through Kaya's story mode, it's actually not a next time type episodic scene between battles. What actually happens as the character that Kaya fights in the next episode, as the game calls it, is actually sending him a letter in the kind of a talk show or newspaper advice column in which he kind of quips or responds in a direct way. The bio gives us the example that Gally, the big muscular sword guy, wants to hide his drinking from his wife. I can't recall at the time of recording this if he gave him decent advice or not, but I'm sure Editor Me will put in the example as we continue on.
This is Kaya. The first memorable letter I got was from Gally Gregman of planet Aradia. He says, I like booze, but my wife only lets me drink a little. I don't want to drink behind her back because it doesn't taste good and I can't enjoy it. Tell me what to do. Well, they say wine gladdens the heart of man, and wine is the best of all medicine. However, I think your wife is concerned about your health. So I suggest you quit drinking completely. Next week, I'll be facing a bounty hunter. Please watch the next Tempo-in show, The Second Night.
So as far as the overall story in general, you know what really kickstarts all these heroes' journey is to fight Ihidelka. Ihidelka, according to the game's prologue, is a multi-dimensional being who threatens the world of Iparisu, or Happy Island. Through the cost of what was heavy casualties, many of the residents of Happy Island managed to imprison Ihidelka in a place called EvilZone. So now warriors of spirit need to get strong enough to go into this EvilZone and destroy her before she gets free. It is said a tournament gathers these spirit warriors, and whoever gets to the end is the one who gets the chance to face Ihidelka. That's the basic premise. No joke, that is the entire situation when it comes to the story. Most of the story you're going to gather from this game will be through the characters' bios or through the very small snippets of anime-esque cutscenes you get at the beginning, between battles, and of course, at the ending of the character's arc. Whether the ending is good or bad really is up to your interpretation. For example, the mercenary character Aeroplausa I would consider a good ending, as she gains the strength to fight Ihidelka strictly to defend her one-sided relationship with another fighter whom she fancies. In the end, it seems that defeating Ihidelka has had this other fighter recognize her abilities as being a strong fighter. And that's really it. For an example with Kaya itself for our video playthrough here, Kaya actually does get enough power to resurrect his friend. It seems that after the battle, he is exhausted and depleted of whatever energy he may have had. And it seems that Kimika talks to Kaya as he is laying on the ground, or laying in her lap, I guess, in this circumstance. And that's all we get. And that's really what you get with most of these characters. You could think of it this way as Mortal Kombat games. You go through the tournament with a character, which theoretically would take you probably less than an hour to get through, watching your chosen fighter gain strength, and depending on who you pick, either grow as a person or just straight up take over where Ihidelka would leave off after you defeated her. Anyways, that's as much as I can say for the story. I only actually went through a few of the characters before deciding I was going to talk about this game, but The game lists Ihedelka as a playable character as well, which I imagine you must unlock her by some certain means. This has got to be the fastest I think I've gone through a nostalgia dive onto the conclusions. Yes, I'm already here to the conclusion of the game. I'm not going to lie though, this game almost didn't make the cut for Nostalgia Dive. Not because of my lack of remembering this game, but mainly because out of all the games I have played in this series, I have not ever been more frustrated in my fucking life. When you play this game, no matter who you play as, around the 7th or 8th match of the game, you will face off against the 10,010-year-old little girl. Go figure, it's a fucking anime game, bruh. Anyway, the difficulty on this one is so immense, it almost felt like it should have been the last fight of the game. I'm actually going to ask you guys a quick question. Have you ever played against a dirty little move spammer before? Well, if you are an advanced player of fighting games, you know this to be a trivial issue. However, yours truly is probably as casual as they come. Using the high-level techniques one uses to reverse or get out of these grabs does not come easy. I'd say this game for sure could easily have a cult following in fighting games world. Maybe it already has, but you definitely won't see me in it. Outside of the bullshit fight with a child, the game scales in difficulty very well. I'd say probably the best I've seen when it comes to older fighting games. The story itself is short and nothing really to write home about, but the music, some of the campy voice work, shit, I believe they even got the guy who voices Colonel Campbell in Snake Eater to voice someone. So yeah, there are things in this one that may not be everybody's cup of tea when it comes to fighting games, but I'm glad I was actually able to come back and play it after so much time and give it an honest shake. Will I play it again after this? Probably not. I'd say if you're looking for something pretty niche to add to your retro collection that could kill a couple hours, go for it. Thank you all for coming by, and I hope you all had a great holiday season. If you want to see more of these videos, I post them once a month, so go ahead and hit subscribe so you don't miss out. Also, leave me a comment. How do you feel about older fighting games? What is your favorite fighting game growing up? You can follow me over on Twitch, where we usually play whatever I have a hankering for at the time, and I'll see you next time. Peace.